Hi folks, in this quick video we're going to just talk and get comfortable with this word called slope. Okay? If you've watched previous videos on linear and nonlinear relations, this will all come pretty easy. Slope is just a way of explaining how steep a line is. Okay? Now let's recall, a linear relation is a relationship or a relation between two variables or topics. And the last one we did was called distance time graphs, which we have a video for. And these graphs that are the ones that are linear form a straight line when they are graphed, just like these two that you see right here. Okay, so if you were looking at graph number 1, which one of these lines is steeper? Well, you can push pause if you want to anytime there's a question, but I will answer it right here. Obviously, line A is steeper than line B. Okay? What about the next graph? Which one's steeper? Well, if you had to slide down C, you would go a lot faster than D. So C is definitely steeper. Okay? So both A and C have what we would call a greater slope. So let's look at this next one. It says a skier gets off the ski lift at the top of a mountain and considers the different runs for his descent. Which graph represents this situation? So which one represents going downhill? In this case, we would pick graph number 2. Okay? If the skier chooses to take the expert run, it should say or the beginner run, which line represents his descent? Well, the expert run is going to be steeper, right? So that would be more of an easy run. So the expert run would be that line that has the C at the bottom. Okay? All right. So slope is a measure of steepness, how steep a line is. And how do you explain how steep a line is? Well, they've come up with a way here. And it's determined by the vertical rise, the vertical distance, and there's a graph right here of it. Here's the rise. And then you can divide that by the run, which is the horizontal distance. So the top number in a fraction, if you were to take the top divided by the bottom, would be the rise. And the run is this distance across. And that's a way of comparing lines to see which one is steeper or less steep. Okay? So there's different ways to talk about slope. Often in math they use the letter M to indicate slope. And the top part again is the rise, the change in y. Now remember, the y-axis is, if you're on a graph like this, the y-axis is the vertical part, and the horizontal part is the x-axis. So the steeper the line, well, that would be the change in the y-axis, and the change in the x would be the horizontal part. Okay, I'm just going to erase that. So let's do a question here together. A ramp has a rise of 2.5. Let's pretend it has a rise of 2.5. And the run is 4. So in this situation it doesn't really show that. I'll try and draw it right over here. The rise is 2.5 and the run is 4. The reason why I like this little tiny drawing better than the one up here is because this one actually has a smaller rise and a longer run, just to show you that it's not as steep as the lines above. Okay, this is less steep. So what's the slope of the ramp? Well, you just take the rise, 2.5, divided by the run. And if you wanted to, you could just take a calculator and you could just go 2.5 divided by 4. And you get 0.625. Okay, so the steeper the line, the bigger the number, and the less steep the line, well, it's a smaller number, and 0.625 is really not a very big number. Okay, if you had a rise of, let's say you had a really steep line like this, and the rise was 5 and the run was 2. Well, the rise is 5, the run is 2. So our slope would be 2.5. Okay? So it's just a number, and it's obviously a bigger number than this one. The other thing about slope is that when you're going downhill, it is negative. Okay? And when you're going uphill from left to right, it is positive. It's a positive slope. Okay, so downhill is negative in math, and uphill is considered positive. How do you know if it's going up or downhill? Just imagine writing the word negative here. It would be going down, right? And if you wrote negative right here, you'd see it would be going uphill, and you'd be like, wait a minute, this is actually going uphill. I better write the word positive here because it's going uphill. Okay? Here they're asking us to actually find the slope of the following line segments. So pick spots that are cutting through this grid nicely. Like there's a spot right here and there's a spot right here. Okay, you could pick other spots, but let's just pick these two. So I'm going to draw it there. The rise is how many? Well, the rise is 2 and the run is 1. So the slope here, the rise over the run, is equal to 2. Okay, the slope is the rise over the run. Let's say that you had accidentally saw this dot right here and you didn't notice this one and you went down here. Well, look at the rise and the run. The run is 2 here. What's the rise? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, what's 4 divided by 2? You get the exact same answer no matter what you do. As long as you pick dots along this line that match up nicely on the grid, you're going to come up with an answer that really works. Okay? Should we try one more? Let's look for another spot. Here's another spot. What if you pick these two dots? Well, the rise would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The run would be 1, 2, 3. Well, 6 divided by 3 is 2. I think you believe me now. As long as the line is straight, the slope will always stay the same no matter where you pick your spots. Okay, let's try the next question. And by the way, I forgot to do something on this line. Remember what I said earlier about a line that's going downhill? It's going to be negative. So your teacher will sometimes give you questions that have a negative slope, and you will lose a mark probably if you forget. Okay, so I almost lost a mark with you because I almost forgot to say, hey, this is a negative slope. The next line is a positive slope, and let's pick 2 points along that line. I'm just going to pick the nearest 2 so I don't have to reduce. And I see the rise is 1, 2, 3. And I'm being careful because I see the scale also goes by ones here. And the run is 1. So 3 divided by 1, the slope is just 3 here. It's that quick. Okay, the slope is 3. What about this one here? Well, the rise, notice it's not rising up at all. It's a horizontal line. I'm going to write it right here. The rise is 0. And what's the run? Well, the run, it looks like it goes forever, left and right. It doesn't really stop. So I'm just going to say the run is any number. Just pick the number 10, for example. Well, on your calculator, 0 divided by 10 is just 0. When a slope is 0, that means the line is horizontal. Okay? So if the line is horizontal, it has a 0 slope. 0 slope. Now this one here is a vertical line right here, and it has a very strange situation. In math, they say that this slope is undefined. I'm going to write that word here. Undefined. Why would they use a word like that? How come? Well, think about the slope here. The rise could be any number. Let's say the number 10 again. It could be any number. But the run, it's not moving left or right at all. The run is 0. Now if on your calculator, if you were to go 10 divided by 0, your calculator will not be able to give you an answer. It'll actually say error, okay, or undefined. Your calculator may actually say the word undefined to you. Because in math it's impossible to divide a number by 0. And so that's why they call this slope undefined. And you just have to know that. If you ever see a vertical line and your teacher asks you what is the slope, just say it is undefined. And wow, you will have got that question right. Nice job. So let's make a quick conclusion here. A positive slope rises from left to right. It rises or moves up. Okay. A negative slope falls from left to right. And if you want to push pause before I answer the last two, feel free. A slope, a special kind of slope is a horizontal line. Well, A zero slope is a horizontal line. And the last one, an undefined slope is a vertical line. And now you basically have an idea of what slope is. We'll get more into some technical details about how to find slope on other videos, but for now this is just the basics that I wanted you to know. So I hope you have a good day, and I hope you now know lots or the basics about slope. Take care, everyone.